What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here with my good buddy, Andy Herman from the Pack-A-Day podcast, Packer Report, anything Packers related on the internet. That's where you'll find Andy and his work. Andy, big win for the Packers yesterday. I'll leave it to you, good sir. Where would you like to begin, with the offense or the defense this week?
Ooh, that's a great question. Let's start with the offense.
Very good. Very good. You look at the offensive line, the engine that could, so to speak. I don't think there's any secret that early and often in this game, they wanted to get the ball out of Rodgers' hand quickly. There were a number of occasions where Aaron literally could not step up in the pocket, could not even lean into his throws because of some of the pressure. But I was pleasantly surprised on more than a number of occasions where they held up okay against a really talented front. Guys like Yash, Runyon, across the board, even Newman, who we talked about before, has had his issues.
Yep.
Again, wasn't perfect, wasn't pretty by any means, but man, they came to play and got the job done up front.
They did, and there's always two sides of the coin, right? And I always think expectations are fun because, I think the expectations going up against this Rams defensive front were, very low for this Packers offensive line. But to your point, if you would have told me going into this game that they would have had 45 pass attempts and that they would have given up technically one sack that was a 0-yard sack,
which was because Aaron ran outside the pocket, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I would have said there's absolutely no way. Now, as you mentioned, concerted effort by the offense to get the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands and make it as easy as possible on the offensive line. There were times where that pocket was collapsing quickly and he just had to kind of throw it into the ground or get rid of it. There certainly was some of that. I didn't think there was a ton of running room or alleys for A.J. Dillon, and he certainly made the most out of not a lot. But based on the expectations that I think everyone had going into that game, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, the whole crew, Leonard Floyd, I don't think they could have performed much better in that game. And I think as far as defensive fronts that group will face the remainder of the season, I think that's arguably one of the best. So I give it a passing grade, even if there were still concerns and maybe not ideal run blocking and so on and so forth.
Talk about expectations and, things that maybe people expected to see in this game. It was interesting this past week. We didn't have nearly the buildup we did last year in regards to Davante Adams versus Jalen Ramsey. Like, it became like its own entity last season. Right. I guess playoff game, extra spotlight. I understand all that. But it was interesting how, as the game progressed, and they mentioned this on the broadcast, they certainly seemed to want to get Ramsey on Davante exclusively the more that game went on. I thought Matt did a great job, in a number of different ways, trying to free him up, moving him around a lot. We've heard Aaron Rodgers talk about that. It was just another week of how can we get Davante into the slot away from some of those perimeter corners, and they just ate up the interior of the Rams' defensive secondary.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Davante too. And I posted this yesterday. It's 8 catches on 9 targets for 100 yards. And it's just like it's a yawn.
It's just another day at the office.
Another day at the office, which is insane. Like he's so good. And some of the moves that he put on and at the line of scrimmage and being able to get the releases. And I think maybe some of the reason we didn't hear a ton about Ramsey Davante is we saw last year it got built up. And then how many times did they actually go against each other? So I think everyone kind of assumed, all right, the Rams are going to play a lot of zone. And the Rams do such a good job with Ramsey. Almost, to me, Ramsey is the most Charles Woodson-esque slot player. I'm not saying they're apples to apples, but
it's a good comp. Yeah.
The fact that you can blitz him, he can basically be an outside linebacker, play safety, play corner, play all of it. It's the closest thing you have to a Charles Woodson type player. And you don't necessarily just want to, tie them up with Davante, because that's not exactly an easy day at the office for Ramsey either. So I think they do a great job of moving him around and getting him in advantageous spots. But even when they had the opportunity to go one-on-one, the play to me for Davante, that all you need to know about Davante, he's matched up one-on-one with Jalen Ramsey. Ramsey gets the illegal hands to the face penalty on Davante. Davante releases anyway. The ball is tipped by Aaron Donald. He still has the concentration to catch the ball and get the first down on the play. You're talking about just obviously great placement by Rodgers and everything like that too, but you're going against the best corner. He jams you in the face. The ball is tipped by Donald. You still get the catch. You still, that's Davante Adams in a nutshell.
I love that play, especially because when you watch it, you see kind of like the life leave Ramsey's body as he watches Davante catch it and get the first down. Like, what do I have to do? I even hit the dude in the face and I can't stop him on this slant, which is, you got to think there's a good chance that might be coming on a 3rd and short. Moving outside, or off Davante for a little bit, clearly it's interesting because MVS has a huge output last week. Not a huge output this week, but still has some key catches. I was really interested that Rodgers went to EQ in a big spot in this game. And it's not, again, it's not like Equiminius had a huge productive day. It's not a day that you're going to point at the stat sheet and say, but it is interesting that Aaron keeps bringing him up like unprompted in his
Yep.
post game pressers, and he's going to him on crucial third downs. I just think this kid has earned the quarterback's trust in a way that is going to pay off down the stretch. Again, it's not a big thing coming off of this game, but I think the seeds have been sown between what we saw in Minnesota and now against the Rams. I would expect EQ to get more and more involved down the stretch here.
Couldn't agree more. And certainly when you get the praises of QB1, that's going to give you more advantageous positions to be in. But overall, I love the game from Minnesota. For EQ,
Yeah.
I thought he was phenomenal in that game. I think he's underrated as a run blocker. You want to get involved in this offense and find snaps, go out and run block like
That's
your
how you're
job
going to get on the
depends on it.
field. Absolutely.
Exactly. And he's been phenomenal. To me, right there with Lazard in regards to run blocking. We saw the run after catch ability, something that Lazard doesn't exactly have. EQ showed it off against Minnesota, went to him in a key spot this week again, as you mentioned, just one catch, but it was a key third down that he converted into a first down. And then, oh, by the way, the special teams play that he made where he was able to make the tackle.
So good.
It ended up getting overturned because Green Bay got the automatic first down, but that was such a key play for him. And then also downing the ball at the 1 yard line later in the game. He is doing all the X factor little things that you would want him to do. And now it's starting to show up. And I'm legitimately excited to see where the rest of the season can go for EQ.
And it's what they always say, right? Special teams is your path onto the field from scrimmage. And then when you're playing from scrimmage, doing those little things, especially the blocking in the run game, then your opportunities will come. Another guy who I think kind of falls into that category is Josiah Deguara. Again, not a guy who's putting up huge numbers, but you saw again late in the game where it's a gotta have it situation. I think it's a 4th and 2.
4th and 2.
They try to hit Jones in the flat. Both I think it's the corner and the linebacker kind of jump it, and Aaron doesn't like it. Comes back to his second read, which is Josiah, doesn't hesitate and just rips it, first down. That's a play I'm not so sure Aaron throws to Josiah earlier in the season, earlier in his career. But there have been a number of occasions where, again, not big plays, not huge gainers, not stuff that's going to make a highlight reel or get put on Sports Center or what have you, but trust plays where the quarterback is trusting guys who haven't had a ton of reps, aren't like the number one read more often than not. Again, for Josiah, doing little things, helping in the run game, etc. I think that's going to lead to bigger things down the stretch.
Yeah, sometimes it just takes that small pebble to go into bigger things, right? And I think if you think back a few years ago when Tonyan caught that deep ball against Seattle, and Rodgers rolled out, and there's nowhere else to go, right? And he just took a chance and heaved it up for Tonyan. Tonyan comes down with it, and that seemed to be sort of the first little pebble that kind of got the Robert Tonyan, sort of career rolling. I think last week against Minnesota, not different parts of the field, but same sort of concept where Rodgers just rolling out, trying to buy time, find somebody who can get open. It's either Deguara or bust. He gives Deguara a chance. He goes up and makes that catch. You mark that down, you earn that trust. And then in this game, that trust shows itself. 4th and 2, arguably, in my opinion, the biggest play in this game, because that is a 3-point game in the second half where the Packers have the ball. They turn over the ball there. Rams are down 3 with the ball. Instead, they go down and because of that play, are able to score a touchdown a couple plays later. I think it was the Dillon catch, if I remember correctly.
Out of the backfield, right?
But if they don't convert that 4th and 2, Rams are right there in the ball game and certainly can threaten and go take the lead. So to be able to have the trust in Deguara for him to make that catch, again, I think it just plants those seeds with QB1 of the level of trust that he can have. And I think Deguara's made, again, the most of his opportunities these last couple of weeks.
So let's flip it around. The defensive side of the ball, coming off a performance in Minnesota that saw them give up a number of big plays. It's really interesting. I had someone in my chat this morning, and I think Aaron mentioned this after the game about not only could this have been, a 42-pointer for the Packers easily if they just execute a little better in the red zone, given the opportunities they were given, but also this could have been a game where the Rams scored like 10 points if they just locked down on the big plays. We've seen it before, the Packers defenses in the past. Once you put something on tape, teams are going to keep going at you with it until you stop it. And I don't think anything is going to stop anytime soon. Of course, now heading into the bye week, maybe they have some tweaks, some rules adjustments as far as, okay, if this happens, then do this, because it's 2 weeks in a row now where opponents have gotten guys deep. And both times it seems, now this is, I haven't looked at the coach's tape because it's not available yet, but sure seems like the safeties have been caught either looking in the backfield, jumping something underneath when you've got guys going deep, whether it's OBJ late in the game or Jefferson early on that post. Those shots are going to continue, I would think, until the Packers show they can stop it, because this is 2 weeks in a row now where that's been an issue.
Yeah, and they've done such an amazing job all season in not allowing explosive plays. And in the last couple of weeks, obviously not great at that. And two in this game as well. The Jefferson one, with Sullivan, it looked like his feet get tangled at the absolute worst moment.
He's right
at
there.
The top of the
He's
route.
right there.
He's right there. And, even
position.
If you commit a pass interference penalty there, even if you, are able to, shoestring tackle him or something, it's not anywhere near as egregious, but just gets tangled at the catch point at the wrong time, not able to make a play. Kudos to Jefferson. But yeah, it looked like the safety kind of jumped an underneath route. And again, I think they're going to have to look at, we know that this is a team that wants to avoid big plays. This is a group of safeties, both in Amos and Savage, that like to have the opportunity to jump some of that underneath stuff. They've used Savage a ton in those robber rolls. And you're trying to eliminate some of those quick, easy hitters, but it can leave you susceptible to bigger plays. Later in the game looked like a cover 4 with Douglas. I actually spoke with our good friend Ben Fennell about this play particularly because I wanted to get his thoughts on this as well. And, I think one of the big things, and this is always like how much actually goes into this, right? So first of all, it's late in the game and you're up, through, I think 3 scores at the time.
3-score game at that point.
Yeah. You would
which
love
is why
to
it feels egregious for a safety to be jumping something.
Agree. Or, even the corner, you would love, if you look on the other side. So Stokes is playing well off of his guy. The guy on the other side is doing the exact same things to Stokes, and Stokes is making sure that he kind of stays back. I think kind of knowing the score and everything like that, just we're not going to allow anything.
Right.
You would like to see Douglas maybe have a little bit more of that. But at the same token, it's an empty set for the Rams. You're not expecting a double move out of empty. You're expecting kind of your guys to get home. Like all of that just goes into this. But either way, to your point, they need to do a better job of eliminating those explosive plays, especially when you have a lead like that. And the one thing that you don't want to do is give up an explosive to allow the team to potentially get back in the game. I think that's definitely going to be a learning point. And as LaFleur and Rodgers and everyone always says, you love to learn those lessons in a win rather than a loss. And I think it'll get through to them.
Well, coming down from the secondary, actually, I want to stick on the safeties for a second. And one play in particular, Adrian Amos, for whatever he may have done as far as jumping stuff and being aggressive, his aggressiveness paid off early in the game during that 4th down stop. I mean, what a play to not only recognize and not waste any motion from his spot there in the middle of the field, basically, but to traverse the wash, so to speak, where he knows the blocking scheme that the offensive lineman is trying to work off to get to the second level. He gets to the spot before the lineman does and makes a phenomenal play. I mean, that's not something that'll probably get remembered a lot in this game, but it is an outstanding football play from Amos.
The Adrian Amos career arc is one of the more interesting things from the Bears, saying like, we think, HaHa can do all the things that Amos did and sort of like bizarro, like throwing him under the bus on the way out, to having a really fantastic career from beginning to end without really getting much recognition for it, to just being Adrian Amos might be the most consistent player that I have ever seen on he just is the same guy every single week doing the same things. I'm shocked that the ball just doesn't haphazardly bounce his way more often.
End up in his arms.
He's always in the right place. He's always there. And these are the sort of plays that he ends up coming up with. Is he perfect? No. Can he give up some things from time to time? Yes, but he is just a great safety. And I said to this day, I think one of the reasons why you've seen Eddie Jackson have a decline over the last few seasons is because Adrian Amos isn't next to him. You have this ultra safe, ultra responsible safety that knows everything, can communicate everything. And it played perfectly with Eddie Jackson to be able to have him be your aggressive fly around sort of thing. Same thing with Amos and Savage. Savage is able to do so much more flying around and be more aggressive because Amos is so safe. And by the way, he can still make these plays from time to time where he's the aggressor and going up. Just a phenomenal play by him and just one of the more underrated players in the league.
No doubt about it. Then you look at the linebacking core, and it's interesting to me. It does seem to all of a sudden be a pattern where the first half of the season they were trying to find their footing. They knew Campbell was the guy, right? And they were trying to find who worked what as far as their mixing and matching of groups and down and distance and what have you. They brought in Jalen Smith for a bit to try and maybe kick Barnes to the curb a little bit. Obviously, that didn't work. And now it seems like whenever Campbell has a good game, Barnes is off. And whenever Barnes has a good game, Campbell is off. And this felt like a game where Barnes had a pretty decent showing, I thought, and Campbell was just a little bit off. But it seems like it, not that it doesn't matter, but they seem to really complement each other. And I'm just yearning and longing for the day. And I think we got it in Kansas City, but even then I thought Campbell was a little under his standard. The day these two guys play like their top flight games at the same time is going to be so fun to watch because I don't think we've seen it yet.
Yeah, it's a really great point. You do kind of get this feeling that it's been either one or the other. And I think the thing that I really like about Devondre is, in the first, maybe 6, 8, 9 games of the season, he was playing fantastic. And I think over the last 3 to 4 weeks, it's maybe fallen off a little bit or not been at that standard. But the thing that I like is that it's not bad. Like there's not like you're not seeing egregious errors.
He's not missing tackles.
Exactly,
you know what I mean? Right? He's not committing penalties. Like he's still playing solid football. It's just nowhere near the level that we've seen him play at.
Yep. And in the meantime, Chris Barnes has picked up the slack and had some really big plays. I mean, what was it? Cooper Kupp he was covering on the play and is making the pass break up. He did miss the tackle late in the game, but I mean, you can see Barnes has a little bit of a different step and explosiveness this season. And I really do like how these two play next to each other. I think Oren Burks has shown much more explosiveness this season as well as a number 3 linebacker. I like where this linebacking core is at, and it's going to make for another, how many guys are Green Bay going to have to make just ridiculous decisions on next season? We can get to Douglas and Campbell, and I mean those are like the third tier of guys.
I know the decisions they have to make.
It's just unreal, but really fun to see those guys playing together right now.
And then finally up front, it's interesting. I don't think many people would have expected a monster game from Rashan Gary coming off of a hyperextension of his elbow, but man, he gave Whitworth all sorts of trouble between the strip sack fumble, drawing that holding penalty later in the game. It was interesting. Kind of down the stretch, it seemed like they were not utilizing Gary as much. Most likely he's on a bit of a pitch count, I would suspect, because of the injury. But, man, he was an absolute game wrecker. And it's so fun to watch a team where they have to account for him. And whether it's a back or a tight end, like other guys get opportunities. I think Kenny has a half sack in that game because they're worried about the edge. It's like things working in concert like that. It's a breath of fresh air, especially coming after a week where it felt like they really needed to blitz a little bit more because Gary wasn't in there. You put Gary back in there, lo and behold, you don't have to send as much pressure, and he just wrecks things on his own.
Yeah, high praise certainly from Matt LaFleur after the game as well. I couldn't tell. Did he even have a brace on his arm? I tried looking.
I didn't see one. I mean, see one either. Maybe, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. I'll have to take a closer look. But either way, to have that sort of impact coming right back from injury, because as you and I have talked about on numerous occasions, Aaron, it's one thing for the guy to be back from injury, but are they the same caliber of player? Just because Rashan Gary's out there doesn't mean that he's the same Rashan Gary that we saw earlier in the season, because of the injury. So the fact that not only was he out there and able to come back so quickly, but the fact that he looked just as explosive and, powerful and everything like that, and against an offensive tackle who basically hasn't given up pressure this season
all year.
Just a remarkable performance and really, really impressive. And what is he still 23 years old? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's an impressive game from him.
On the flip side, we're not going to talk about Tipa being handled by a tight end on one of his pass rushes.
I did see that, but he did have a nice pass rush later in the game as well.
He did. He played better as the game went on, but we literally were on the watch party, and I went, "Oh, Tipa, no, not the tight end taking you out." Do we have to talk about special teams? I guess we do.
There was a couple good things. There was a couple. They did get
EQ had a nice play.
EQ had a nice play.
Randall Cobb muffed a punt.
He did.
What? Oh my God. So now I'm nervous no matter who's back there. Now I'm like, I can't even go down the route of just put Randall back there so we have the sure-handed guy, because now the sure-handed guy is muffed a punt.
They've had don't they have 7 receivers on the roster? They've got
something like that. Somebody's got to be able to do it. I don't know, man.
And also, by the way, you can still you could literally just stash a returner on the practice squad and activate them every week.
Activate them every week.
And activate them you get 2 times, but then find a new guy and activate that guy for 2 weeks. Like
2 weeks.
You literally could just stash a legit, just pure returner.
That's all he does.
And all he does is return. And like, you would be better. Like, it is insane to me that you have this team that just cannot find a dude that can return the ball in any capacity, or even just be safe with catching a punt return. Like, at this point, the bar is low enough on punt returns that
that's the thing. That's not like there's anyone in Randall's face. It's like, I understand it. Like, if there's like traffic or whatever, but he's legit wide out in the open. And then Crosby misses a kick late in the game just to send us into the bye week with enough to worry about.
Just a reminder.
You know, we don't like, well, don't want anybody thinking stuff is solved, people. No, I get it. All right.
I think they cover special teams. I think
that's it. Andy, I can't thank you enough for hanging out and talking football with me every Monday. We'll obviously not have anything to talk about next Monday, but we'll be back after the Bears game. Make sure you check out Andy's stuff at Packer Report and, of course, Pack a Day Podcast, featured right here on Cheesehead TV. Andy, thank you so much, man.
Thanks, Aaron.